Welcome back. This is Jeff on Let's Go Low with our radio show right here in the great Tampa Bay area. Thanks for tuning in every Saturday morning and supporting the show, brought to you by Golfers Unite. We got Mike Hicks coming back for our second segment. And Mike, we're going to talk about what do the golf addicts do after this FedEx Championship playoff tours. And there's still a lot of golf left for them, isn't there?
Events, I guess, and 3 out of the country, 2 in Mexico, 1 in Japan. We used to play in Vegas, that's gone now. Used to play in Jackson, Mississippi, that's gone now. Used to play in Napa, California, that's gone now. So they've replaced those tournaments with a tournament in Japan and then 2 in Mexico. So it's the fall was always, sporadic anyway. You were all over the place. So, it's for those guys that are still trying to, crack that top 100.
Right.
So, it'll be some intense golf. A lot of guys playing for their jobs.
Yeah, exactly. So, before we dive into some of the fall stuff, for all those people kind of wondering what happens on the playoffs, so let's recap what do we got coming up here. We got the FedEx St. Jude Championship, and that's going to be at the TPC Southwind in Memphis, that 70-player field format. So from there, the 50 players move on to the BMW Championship in St. Louis. And then from there, we have our tour champion, which is going to be at Eastlake in Atlanta with the top 30 players, and kind of the season wraps up then. So the top 50 coming out of the players also are locked in and for their tour card for next year. But golfers, after the tour championship, don't forget, we got a big one coming up that, a lot of golf lovers love, and that's the President Cup. And that's going to be at Medinah outside of Chicago towards the end of September, the 24th to the 27th. So we got Brent Snedeker as the captain of the U.S. against Jeff Ogilvy of the international team. So, Mike, you've been a part of President's Cups and stuff like that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, your experience? We're talking with Mike Hicks from MikeHicksGolf.com. Mike was Payne Stewart's former caddy and knows a lot about the President's Cup. So what are your thoughts on that event?
Well, I'm not a big fan of it. It's kind of a letdown after you've, worked Ryder Cups. That whole thing, the President's Cup was created by the PGA Tour because they saw how much money the PGA of America was making at a Ryder Cup. And, there was some barking, so to speak, from the other international countries. They wanted to play in something. So they created this President's Cup thing. And, like I said, I got mixed emotions about it. I worked a couple of them, but I wasn't a big fan because it's, we win every time. So it's never really it's not much of a contest. I don't know, what of the international team, have they won once?
I believe so.
One time out of however many they played. Yep. I actually caddied in the first one for the international team. I caddied for David Frost. I think that was 93. Is that right?
I have to go by your recollection, Mike.
I think it was 93 was the first one. And I caddied for David Frost. Now, I'll never forget, we showed up there. I was caddying for him for a couple of weeks. Payne was in a neck brace at the time, so I was just trying to fill in weeks. So I caddied for David for 3 weeks. I think Grand Blanc, Michigan was one, and then the Canadian Open, and then the next week was the President's Cup. And it was in Manassas, Virginia. And I show up there. I walk the course on Monday. And I get done walking the course, and I come down to the range. David's down there hitting golf balls. And I said, David, I'm not walking this course for less than $5,000 this week. He looked at me like I was an alien. He said, "What?" in that South African voice. He said, "I cannot pay you that." I said, "Well, you're going to have to get somebody else." I said, "I'm not walking this place for less than $5,000 this week." Because it was a cart course. I mean, it wasn't set up for walking, bro. I mean, this thing was, it probably was 10 miles around this joint. And I knew I was going to be going twice. Because back in those days, it was the same as the Ryder Cup format. So I knew I was doing 36 holes. And so he thought about it a little bit. He says, "Okay, I'll give you the 5,000, but don't tell anybody."
Oh, that's a great story. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
So what do you think about Brett Snedeker? This is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820, the Big 8, and all over the internet. We put this up on our YouTube channel. So if you want to go to YouTube and just search up Golfers Unite, you can check this out. What do you think about Brent? I mean, he actually played pretty well at the Rocket. You know, once again, he still can hit the ball great. He seems to be like kind of
I mean, he's having a great year. I mean, he's finally healthy, and I love Sneds. Great guy. He'll be a good captain. He's a patriot. You know, he'll be very competitive as a captain, and he'll be a great leader. So it was a good choice picking Sneds. But like I said, I mean, the competition is really,
it's the people fighting for the tour card, right? So what we discovered is that, basically what happens is, there's tour cards still available, after. So, it's not locked to the 100 after the playoffs. Only 70 are locked. So spots 71 through 100 get decided across the fall series. And, nobody really kind of covers that. So there's a lot of guys out there fighting for, those spots in the fall. So it's competitive golf still, just not big names that you might not be used to.
Well, yeah, all the guys that'll be on that President's Cup team, once they finish the playoffs, more than likely they'll play the week before or maybe 2 weeks before. I don't know what the schedule is, but they'll probably all show up and play just to get some, the rust off. Because if they don't, they're going to be off for like a month.
Well, Biltmore is actually, the Biltmore Championship in Asheville at the Cliffs is the weekend before.
Yeah, so we all know what happened in France when the Ryder Cup team took 5 weeks off and showed up without playing any competition for 5 weeks. They got drilled. So these guys, in golf, you have to play. I mean, you have to stay sharp mentally, competitively. You have to play. So I would imagine they'll probably play that week. If I had to guess, that most of those guys that are on that President's Cup team will play in Asheville just to get some rust off.
Yes, and they'll keep, you said, keep it fresh, and then the President's Cup, and then we go to Utah for the Utah Championship in early October. One event, and there's actually 8 FedEx Cup fall events, September through November. So we got the Biltmore in Asheville, and that's the September 17th. Then we got the President's, Cup the weekend after, the 24th through the 27th. There's one in here that's kind of interesting to me, and maybe we can talk briefly about it. It's the Good Championship in Barton Creek in Austin. It's brand new, and it's sponsored by YouTube. And Good is a brand that was kind of built on YouTube. You know what I mean? And around these players. What do you think about like them? Having their own tour event, the Good Championship.
Well, I mean, it's where I mean, look, my 21-year-old son, that's all he watches is the YouTube golf. Watches these YouTubers. So that generation, that's their entertainment, is watching this YouTube golf and the TGL stuff. I mean, I never watched one episode of that TGL stuff, the indoor golf. So I don't even know how that all works, but that's
it's a great story.
That's the generation we're in now. I mean, that's how they like watching their golf. And so I can see it. I mean, it's good. Hey, the guys that are trying to keep their job are loving it.
Right.
Somebody stepped up and sponsored an event.
Yeah, and I think maybe next episode or something like that for next week, we'll talk a little bit how, TGL kind of weaves its way into, this fall and winter golf, and, the simulator golf world is continuing to boom, and we'll talk maybe a little bit more about that. But, it's great, great for the good brand, YouTube brand, that grew from just this internet fandom into an actual tour event, and it's going to be the first one held at Omni Barton Creek in Austin, which hasn't been down there since 2023, since the match play event died. But this is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 with our good friend Mike Hicks, Mike Hicks Golf. If you guys have a special event, a golf outing or something like that, Mike is open to, maybe coming in and being a keynote speaker for you. You can check it out at MikeHicksGolf.com. Again, MikeHicksGolf.com. And always, this episode is brought to you by Golfers Unite, GolfersUnite.com. Check out the hookups. We're bringing more great content, including The Read, which is a kind of a syndicated content around golf. And we are also going to be launching our what we call the Down Low, and that's a bunch of real rates published on real golf courses that are verified. That's GolfersUnite.com. So, Mike, as we kind of wrap up for this episode, let's talk a little bit about where everything kind of ends. That's the RSM Classic in Sea Island. I've been to Sea Island. I played Frederica. I've played Sea Island, and some great golf there. So RSM Classic's been around for a while. Have you had a chance to play that course, Sea Island?
Oh yeah, I've worked that tournament many times. Great venue, great. Just what a way to end the year, man. It couldn't be in a more laid back, great golf course. Very difficult golf course. When the wind's blowing. Good spot. Love it down there. A lot of tour players live in Sea Island. So it's a great venue to end the season on.
And a great resort. The Cloister Hotel there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fantastic. We've stayed there a few times and loved every minute of being there. And Sea Island is a fantastic place. Lots of golf there. I mean, you got Jekyll Island, you got Sea Island, and you got some fantastic private courses, including Frederica. So if you're thinking about maybe booking a trip, sometime, definitely put Sea Island on your bucket list there to check out. And on our last week's episode, we actually Mike talked about preparing yourself for a golf trip and getting ready for one. So check that out. It's on YouTube. Just search Golfers Unite. You can check out episode 22 and preparing. I think it's segment 2, preparing for a golf trip with Mike Hicks. So, Mike, we got another minute left, and we're kind of winding up towards the end of the season. Who do you kind of like in the playoffs? Just maybe your top 3 or something that you're keeping an eye on, to win the FedEx Cup.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, you look at Billy Horschel a few years ago. Somebody can get hot, win a couple of them. They're all great players, and who knows? Like I said, somebody gets hot for 3 weeks, they win the FedEx Cup. So. Who knows who's going to do it? The obvious guys. I mean, Scotty will be right there. Rory won't play until the finals probably. So your top guys will probably contend. But like I said, anybody can win it if you get hot for 3 weeks.
Exactly. Well, Mike, thanks for coming in. This is Jeff Stanislaw. You just listened to another episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 every Saturday morning on the Big 8, 820 in Tampa. Definitely check out golfersunite.com and MikeHicksGolf.com. That's MikeHicksGolf.com and golfersunite.com. Thanks again, Tampa. Until next week. Well, everybody, it must be Saturday morning because you're listening to Jeff Stanislaw on Let's Go Low right here on AM 820, the Big 8 Radio in Tampa. We thank you very much for joining us. Again, leading off the show is our friend Mike Hicks from Mike Hicks Golf, Payne Stewart's former caddy, who is handling our guest caddy corner as usual. Thanks again. Thanks, Mike. Hopefully all is well, and welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jeff. Yep, all good here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we had seasons winding down. We got one more tournament to go. We just finished up the Rocket, and I think Wyndham is next, if I remember correctly. But
yeah,
Michael,
last one. Yep.
Michael Thorbjornsen got it done. 24-year-old prodigy. Took him a long time. I think a lot of experts were thinking this guy was going to come, storm the golf world a few years ago when he had a great finish. But he finally got it done. What are your thoughts on this weekend's tournament?
Well, it's too bad that, that they're one and done after the redo. The course definitely it was more difficult, and it was pretty soft. So it would have been fun to have seen that course if it had been, firm and fast with the changes they made. They still shot 18 under. But at least it wasn't in the 20s, right?
But a par 70 though, so 18
yeah, that's
under.
true. Yeah, par 70, so that is pretty low. But like again, they're throwing darts, soft conditions. Course looked really cool though. The changes they made, and it'd be a fun place to go play.
Yeah, we'll have to get up there. I got some friends in Detroit that are members there, Mike, so we can make that happen.
All right, that's cool.
So I thought the course looked fantastic. This is Jeff Stanislaw, and it's another episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 of the Big 8. I really like the layout. You don't see too much where it looked like a traditional course, but had some links, accents to it, like the bunkers with the high fescule and some of like fescule in front of some of the tee boxes. I thought it looked really beautiful. And again, I mean, I think you're right. It's sad to see the Rocket go after $15 million. And
yeah, right.
So
yeah, very cool looking layout with the fescue, the hazards right off the fairway. Very cool looking design and the changes they made. I mean, I've been there a few times, but obviously before the changes. So, but yeah, it looked very cool. Too bad they're leaving. And, hats off to Michael. I'm glad he won. His caddy, JJ, is a friend of mine. So I was happy for JJ. And, it was a great tournament. A lot of guys right there till the end. So, it looked like a difficult finish to try and catch up. If you were, it wasn't like you had many birdies coming in the last 3 or 4 holes. So,
yeah, it was kind of crazy. I mean, it started off a little sporadic as far as like the spread. And then, around the turn, there was like 6 guys tied for the lead.
Yeah, I know, right? It was all bunched up. You didn't know who was going to come out on top. So, it was a good tournament. I enjoyed watching it. And, now we're going to Wyndham, last one of the year. I'm actually going to go over there this weekend and hang out for at least go Saturday. I don't know if I'll go Sunday or not, but I'm going to go over and see some guys, see some friends on Saturday. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, nice. This is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820, the Big 8. We're talking with Mike Hicks from Mike Hicks Golf. Mike is Payne Stewart's former caddy. If you guys want to reach out to Mike, he's doing some special things around the golf world. He is opening up some opportunities to maybe even be on someone's bag. So if you got a special birthday celebration or a special VIP member guest or something like that, and you want to consider Mike to be on your bag, you can check it out, MikeHicksGolf.com. And this episode, as always, is brought to you by Golfers Unite, GolfersUnite.com. If you want to check out some of the great deals that we have the hookups at GolfersUnite.com. Check it out. So, Mike, back to the event. So this is the second weekend in a row that a bogey-free Sunday round happened with the 63. He took it by a couple off of Xander Schauffele. What are your thoughts on Xander? I've always been a big fan of Xander, but just this year, he just didn't have it. And, I just kind of want to see what your thoughts are on his game. I think I like the guy. I don't know, much about him personally, but I like the way he golfs.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken him a while to get back from the wrist injury, that he started out last year with. So, he's a very consistent player, ball striker. Putter is always, his bugaboo. He's not a bad putter, but he's not a great putter. So, if the putter gets hot, he's going to contend. So, but just an incredible ball striker. Always has been. And like I said, he's just getting back to form now. I think it's taken him a little over a year to get back to the feels that he had before the injury.
Yeah. So back to Michael. He was ranked 69th in the FedEx Cup. So now he's for sure in the FedEx playoffs. And he got an invite to the Masters with that. And that's really exciting in regards to it. But let's talk a little bit about Davis Riley. I mean, that start by that young man, he goes birdie and then just falls apart, shooting even par for the day. T-ball seemed to go everywhere early on. I mean, he pulled it together and kind of came back towards the end and made it respectable. But, just your opinion, Mike, on what goes through a player like Riley's head, on that Sunday and those wayward T-balls.
He's won a couple of times, so I mean he can win. But listen, it's hard to win. Everything's got to go your way. He was a little off yesterday, and then that's really all it takes is just being a little off. Hats off to him though; he hung in there and brought it back, like you said. But it's hard to win. I mean, it's like I said, things got to go your way. And he just got outplayed yesterday. So it's that would have been his third win had he won the tournament. But it's hard to sleep on the lead and then come out and not really have your A. He probably didn't even have B game yesterday. It was probably a C+ game yesterday.
Right.
But he hung in there, had a good finish. I think he finished third alone or something.
Yeah.
So it was a good week for him. But like I said, it's hard to win.
It is every day. I mean, every weekend, mostly it's like, okay. And you even look at the Scotty Scheffler, right? He had a dominating season, but he hasn't won. I mean, if there's anything that just backs your statement is look at Scotty Scheffler, right? He was in cycle, peak of his game, just couldn't do anything wrong, won a bunch of tournaments, won a bunch of events. But, this year he's proven that your statement, winning in golf, is hard. So,
well, I mean, look at last week. I mean, 2 weeks ago now in Minneapolis, I mean, he shoots 22 under. And loses. So, I mean, you shoot 22 under for 72 holes and you think you got a pretty good shot at winning. But he lost by, I don't know, what did Koiven win by, 3 or 4 shots, something like that?
Yeah, I think it was 3, if I remember.
3 shots, yeah. So, it's, you can, you just never know if somebody's going to outplay you. You, like I said, you shoot 22 under and finish second. It's hard out there, man. They all can play. They're all good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this one's bittersweet for me, Mike. The Rocket. I'm originally from Detroit. Lived there most of my life. Been in Tampa here for about 15 years. So, and it was just sad to see it go. They made a great commitment to the PGA, especially after the Tiger Woods era with the Buick at Warwick Hills and what have you. So it's sad to see it go. And one interesting trivia fact that they had for 8 years, they did this 313 jackpot, which was supposed to be $313,000 to a player's charity if they go 313 on 11, 12, and 13. It was never triggered. So nobody ever did it in 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, what are the odds of that, though, right? I mean, they were pretty safe with that. With an ace. I mean, pretty safe with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like they should have loosened the constraints a little bit on that.
Yeah, right.
So Thor was another interesting fact. Thor, he won the drive, chip, and putt championship at Augusta in 2016. So I have a trivia question. He's only the second player to be able to play Augusta that won the drive, chip, and putt champion. Take a guess at who the other player might be.
Tony Finau.
No, Akshay.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the only other one player to do it. So this is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 Tampa Bay. Also streaming around the world on that internet thing. We're talking with Mike Hicks. Mike is Payne Stewart's former caddy, and he spends his time here with us, talking golf every weekend. Give him some love. Go check out his website, MikeHicksGolf.com. He's available for commentary, speaking events, product reviews, only if it's a good product, right, Mike?
That's it.
and much more. MikeHicksGolf.com. And also, while you're out, check out GolfersUnite.com for all the great hookups that we got at GolfersUnite.com. Become a member and get even better hookups. So, taking a quick pivot, Mike, we got a few minutes left. Let's talk about the Wyndham at Greensboro. You said you're going there. So you're going to go see some friends and check out a few things. Maybe tell us a little bit about the course a little bit, what you remember of it. What are some of your memories?
It's another par 70, with the Donald Ross design. It's for today's standards, pretty short. The Bermuda rough will be high, but they go 20 under or better, depending on, if it gets, might not go that low if it's windy, but it's never windy in August in Greensboro, North Carolina. So,
seems like after the opens and stuff like that, it goes to football season, right? Where you're starting to see 21 under.
Yeah. It's, it'll be another putting contest week. So, but an exciting week, guys trying to get in the playoffs, and they've got a really good field next week, I think. Guys jockeying for position, for the, they've made it really hard. The guys have to play now to get in, to guarantee the first one, the second one. If you get in that second one, then obviously you got a shot at making the final. So,
right.
They'll have a good field there. It'll be an exciting week. But again, it'll just be a putting contest.
Yeah. And I think Jackson Covian is going to be there. So I kind of see a lot of fan bases are excited to see if he puts two together and see if he hangs, or if it was a, kind of a, that golf game bites him. So it should be a great event. And that's the Wyndham at Sedgefield. And that's going on right now. So we're moving day Saturday when you're listening to this. We got Keegan Bradley is going to be there again, Andrew Putnam. So we got a lot of people on the bubble here to make the tournament. And, so regular season finale. So we get 70 go to Memphis, 50 go to the BMW after that, and then the top 30 to East Lake. So if you're kind of planning your time around golf coming up, that's the way the layout is. After this weekend, top 70 go to Memphis, top 50 after that go to the BMW. and the top 30 head to East Lake. And the top 100 in the FedEx keep their cards. So
Yeah.
that's kind of important. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, that's another tournament in itself, guys that are right there on that bubble, say from 110 to 100. You got to make the cut, right? You make the cut, you're still alive. If you miss the cut, then it's, then you're leaving town with a real sour taste in your mouth, knowing that you don't have a job next year. And I don't know what they're doing with the fall series, how that all works anymore. If they can still work their way in to the top 100 with the fall series, I don't know how it all works. They change it so many times.
Yeah,
Maybe
we'll do an episode on that, like what happens to off season and some of these fall series events. And then we got some stuff. We'll do that next time. You've just listened to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 Tampa and the internet world. We appreciate all the love and support. This episode is brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. Stay tuned for some more great episodes of Let's Go Low. What's up, Tampa? It's Saturday morning. You're listening to the Let's Go Low show right here on the Big 8 AM 820. And we got another great episode for you golf lovers out there. This is Jeff Stanislow, your host. This episode is brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com, where we got the hookups. So check out golfersunite.com and see some of the great deals and offers that we provide to you. Our session today is going to be talking to those mid-handicap golfers, the ones that are trying to break 90, maybe even get into the 80s, but they seem to not be able to get it done. And our resident returning guest is Miss Emily Nowak. Emily, how are you doing today?
Good, Jeff. I'm excited to hopefully help some people out today to break either 90s, 80s, break into wherever they're looking to get.
Yeah, fantastic. I appreciate you coming on. Emily is part of the Golfers Unite team, and every Tuesdays and Thursdays, she actually posts to our social media channel some golf instruction. So if you get a chance, go to Instagram or TikTok and search up Golfers Unite. You'll find us there. We are the green button. Or if you want to go to direct, our handle is @WhenGolfersUnite. So Emily, let's talk about where amateurs usually kind of go wrong. And it's actually not, making a bogey. If someone was to go out and say, hey, listen, I'm going to bogey most of the holes and shoot par on some and maybe making an occasional birdie, they're, probably 85 or better. But a lot of the times when people are shooting in the mid 90s, it's the blow up hole that hurts them. It's the hole that when they could have got out of there with a bogey or a double, but all of a sudden it turned into a triple or a quad on their scorecard. Let's just talk a little bit about that. Do you agree? And what are your thoughts, for a mid-handicap golfer to maybe start thinking differently?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest issues that mid-handicappers have is they don't want to take their medicine. They got themselves in that situation. They have to find a safe way out. So whether that's punching a 9-iron into the fairway, you don't have to go for that miracle shot. If you found yourself in the junk, you got yourself there, you got to figure yourself out, and do not go for that miracle shot. That's where we get those 12s, 13s, 14s, 10s. So if you find yourself in a junky situation, take your medicine, punch out. And if it's not in a dangerous place, at least have something to fall back on. So work on your short game. So if you've topped 3 balls now down the fairway, you're getting closer. But if you have that short game to back you up, hopefully it's just a chip and a putt, a chip and 2 putts, and you're not going too crazy around the green. But yeah, I would say a lot of amateurs really bad at taking their medicine, just kind of getting it into a safe spot and really don't have that short game to fall back on when it's needed.
Yeah, that's a great point, Emily. And I think, what I call the hero or zero shot, right?
Yes,
You know what I mean? Like you find yourself, maybe on the right side of the fairway and there's a tree there and you're kind of like, okay, you know, I could punch out and go to the left and advance it, you know, maybe whatever, 100 yards and start playing again. Or I could try to take that hero shot and thread the needle out of the rough, and they decide to take that hero shot and end up like, you know, topping it and it goes into the trees even further or hits the tree and goes out of bounds. So you got to take that out of your mindset when you're really serious about taking those big blow up holes out of consideration. So
For sure.
always think, you know, get it back in play. You know, it is what it is. Take your medicine, as you said, that's for sure. You know, and a good rule of thumb, and maybe you agree with me, is if you can't pull it off 7 out of 10 times on the range or in your previous, rounds of golf, then don't do it. It's not the shot for you.
Especially if it's a shot you've never hit before. I find a lot of people in that spot. I've never been behind this tree. I've never tried to hit one like this. And they think that first time on the golf course is going to be their first and successful time of executing that shot. So yeah, really taking your medicine you'll see those scores start to shrink a whole bunch. Because yeah, on the golf course, definitely ego is involved. You're not laying up, you're out there to hit great shots, and it might take one boring shot to kind of just keep you moving forward. But that's same with around the greens. You want to hit those nice flashy shots, keep them low, keep them in play, and you won't be in too much trouble.
Yeah, I think this is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 in Tampa Bay. We're talking with Emily Nowak. Emily is a contributor at Golfers Unite, and she also runs her own social media platform, the Fairway Femme Club. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But, you know, TV, what I was going to say is, you know, watching the pros on TV and then trying to take their shots to your game is probably not the best way to think about it, you know.
For sure, yeah.
You know, one thing I want to talk about is the tee box. Emily, I think everybody wants to grab the driver, and you know, they're just pulling up the tee, and no matter what they see, they're grabbing their driver automatic. You know, what do you think that they should look at, and then maybe even, you know, start thinking like, hey, you know, maybe I better hit the 5-iron off of this or whatever because of the yardage. You know, what are your thoughts to an amateur when they're pulling up to the tee box? What they should be thinking about?
Yeah, I would be looking at kind of the most open spot. If that means hitting your 5-wood off the tee, then that means hitting your 5-wood off the tee. I would never be trying to thread the needle with a driver and try to land it in a small landing area, especially if you're looking to score. But when you're looking at choosing less than driver, it's super important to think what club you'll have into the green now. So some people, if it's a longer hole, you might take your 5-iron off the tee, and now you have another 5-iron or a hybrid or something you're uncomfortable with off the tee. So just make sure you're giving yourself enough of a play to hit that green regulation. But yeah, it's very common to not hit driver off the tee. If you're watching the LPGA Tour, the PGA Tour, you don't have to always be a hero hitting that driver off the tee, especially if it's a small landing area, the fairway is thin, there's junk up there. Take your rangefinder, figure out where the junk starts, hit to the edge of that, and just make sure you're giving yourself enough of a chance to have a good second shot in there.
That's some good advice. Emily. The other thing I think, one of the things that I try to do, and I don't do it all the time, is work with what you got going on and play to a natural miss.
Yes,
you know, when I'm on the tee box, you know, for whatever, normally I hit a little draw, which is nice, but you know, some days I just don't got it and everything's fading. But I keep on trying to fight the swing when I should actually just be working with what I got going on that day and then looking for the spot where a natural miss or that day's round has got going for me and adjust accordingly.
Yeah, and that's why I think hitting the range before your next round of golf is so important, especially amateurs. pros, they miss one way, and that's why they're so good. They know that no matter what, their miss is going to be left or their miss is going to be right. And having one miss does help so much because it's not going to go either way. But amateurs, go hit the range, figure out what your miss is that day, and yeah, just play it. If it's horrendous, you can deal with it after the round. Just keep the ball moving forward. But yeah, I think it's huge to go hit the range before amateurs play, just to kind of see what the ball is doing that day, and don't fight it. Just kind of play it that day.
So this is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820. We appreciate you, Tampa, for tuning in and all the support. It is brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. If you get a chance, check it out. We got a great website full of fantastic offers in the golf world, from equipment to apparel and much, much more. Check out the golfersunite.com. So, Emily, shifting to the next thing that I think a lot of amateur golfers do is they go pin sinking.
Yes.
You know, they got the rangefinder, they know the exact distance to the pin, and they're ready to swing at it. Talk to us a little bit about maybe the thought process other than just what the distance is right to the pin, what they should be thinking about and trying to shave some strokes off their score.
Yeah, so I think that if you're looking to really get over that threshold, you're looking to break 90, looking to break 80, it's fun to just go out there and aim for the fattest part of the green, whether it's the middle, just look for the fattest part of the green and aim there. Because if we're now going for the middle of the green, we now have a 20-foot, say, radius, where if we're going for that back left corner, our miss now is so much bigger. That 20-foot radius is now taking us off the back of the green. So aiming for the middle of the green is always a fun way to go, and go out to your next round of golf and say, I'm only aiming for the middle of the green, and just kind of see what happens to those strokes. You'll be putting a lot more, and it really just brings in that miss. So it's not such a big area to miss. You're aiming right there for the fattest part, right in the middle.
The other thing that I think a lot of amateurs do is they don't look at what's around the green. Okay. They get the pin, they're going pin seeking, but they got to pay attention to where some of the trouble is and where that pin is. You know, they oftentimes short side themselves and give them a very difficult chip, you know, whereas the landing area on the, you know, let's say the trouble's on the left side of the pin, but the landing area front right is a lot open where they can make a nice little chip and hopefully get, you know, up and down and increase their chances for that versus putting themselves in a bad position on a short side. And then they hit their chip, you know, 20 feet past. Now they're 3 shots away instead of 2.
Yeah. Yeah. And just finding where that good miss is, that's a great advice there too. So yeah, if you're hitting into a pin, sand is short, but it's open long, and you're kind of in between your head. Should I go easy 8 or should I just go full 8? See if I get there, go full 8, because there's no sand back there. That's a safe miss. So always identifying the miss. Safe miss will help too with every hole, because it kind of helps you with those shot decisions as well.
Yes. And then I think a lot of amateurs, they always come up short, right?
Yes.
So whenever you're kind of thinking that you're hitting the ball really strong or, you know, what have you, is don't be afraid to take the extra club a little bit. Maybe if you choke down on the right club, you have a tendency to get to where you need to go instead of being short and in the trouble. Yeah,
trying to hit one really hard, pulling that club and saying, I'm just going to hit this one really hard. You're probably you're already setting yourself up for failure. So I'd always take a choke down, easy swing over trying to really hit this 8-iron hard. And you see like a lot of LPGA players, they'll choke down the club an inch and a half and just really take those nice, easy, smooth swings.
Yep. This is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to another great episode of Let's Go Low. We are talking to those mid-handicappers trying to shave a few strokes here and there, which definitely make a difference on the scorecard. We're trying to talk about, you know, avoiding the blow-up holes. We talked a little bit about some tee box strategies and what to do there, some approach shots, and, you know, aiming at the pin and pin seeking is not always the right thing to do. Just knowing where your misses are going and work with what you got going on. We've got a couple minutes left here, Emily, and I think one of the things that I want to talk to, at least get started, and then maybe we can have you back. There's 2 more subjects that I think we really need to dive into. we can cover one of them today, at least partially, is wedge and distance control. And then the second one, putting, definitely we're going to have you back. We can talk a little bit more about some putting, but what would you recommend to the mid-handicapper to know about their wedges? I know knowing my number is probably one of the most important thing that I got when I start bringing out my wedges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would, figure out how far back you have to take the club to go and see how far that goes. So when you take your club back, think of it kind of as a clock. So you have 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and just think of you ticking those time, just taking that club back a little bit further each time and see what happens. So what a lot of people do is they'll bring their wedge back halfway and then they'll accelerate or decelerate super hard. So get used to taking those quarter, half, 75% shots and get comfortable doing that, because you not want to be taking those full swings of those wedges. That's when we've completely lost control. So just get used to, taking that club back 25, 50, 75%, see how far it goes and get comfortable with it.
Yeah. And then your wedge, you can hit a 54 degree full wedge. For me is about 100 yards, right? But I'm also working real hard to know what a 3/4 54 degree is, a half 54 degree is, so I can dial in those numbers. You like that idea?
Yeah, I love the idea. And at that point, just like putting, it's just doing it over and over and over again and getting used to that feeling.
Right. You got to get that repetition with your wedges.
Yeah.
When we come back next week, let's talk a little bit more about maybe chipping around the green and what degrees that they should be doing. I know a lot of people chip with an 8-iron, or maybe they have one wedge that they chip with. We can talk a little bit about front of your stance versus the back of the stance and what the ball's going to do. A lot of way to shave those scores, don't you think, Emily?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of fun stuff that can be going on with the short game to help with that.
Fantastic. You've listened to another great episode. This is Jeff Stanislow, your host of the Let's Go Low Show right here on AM 820. We appreciate you tuning in, Tampa, and thank you very much. This is Jeff, and this is Emily Nowak. Emily is with Golfers Unite and also the Fairway Femme Club. You can find her on most socials. Just search Fairway Femme Club and find Emily. And she's also on our channels on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so you can see visuals to these lessons. Until next week, always, let's go low.